The use of technology has really increased quite a bit. And what I found interesting was, what are we in 2025? This thought that video conferencing is used by 93%. That was like the top technology that was being used
Yeah.
by folks. I actually talked to an immigration tech company today that was showing me it was giving me a demo, like looking for some feedback. They haven't really launched yet. And I gave them some tough love. And I said, look, you've got some AI, you've got this nice interface, everything looks good. But the thing is that the full extent of the market, the immigration law market, doesn't need a million bells and whistles. Like,
Yeah.
we're still catching up. We as an industry are still catching up with overall adoption of more kind of basic things, and that makes sense. Where lawyers are typically a bit risk averse, we're dealing with sensitive client data, and it takes a while for the mass of immigration attorneys and firms to look at what's being adopted in a successful way to then make a decision to adopt it themselves. And again, looking at the survey, if you look at the immigration, if you look at, there's exhibit one here in the technology and innovation track, it says law office technologies currently in use 2025. The number one was video conferencing, 93%. And then technologies that are essential, the number one was considered video conferencing. Think about that. We got out of COVID, let's just say 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, however people want to think about it. And this is the number one thing that it has really caught on over the course of the last few years. And of course, as you go down the line of more sophisticated technology, adoption rates across the board are lower. And the biggest one, of course, is AI. They have a whole section on generative
Yeah.
AI. For anyone who has, I definitely recommend checking out the survey. By the way, it's called Insights now. The Practice Pulse, not
Practice
Marketplace
Pulse.
study,
Yeah.
but same idea,
Practice
right?
Pulse 2025. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. For generative AI, as part of their survey, 32% said they have not adopted it at all or rejected it. I would be really curious to hear of the folks surveyed how many people straight up rejected it. Which is an active choice versus not adopting AI, which is a more of a passive choice. So that's 32%. 44% have minimal, minimal adoption, just starting to explore. So altogether, that's 76%. Okay, it's three quarters of the immigration bar, I guess, if you want to look at it and extrapolate that way, is either not using it or just starting to explore AI. And I think that's really important for people to note for two reasons. Number one, for lawyers who think they're falling behind because they're not using AI all across their platform, their law firm, don't worry, you're not falling behind. You're actually with the majority. Yes, there are some firms out there that are super experimentational and they'll invest money into different tools. Fine. Still, the jury's still out as to whether all the time they're spending on it is netting them increased revenue or whatnot. But surely it's good to do that because you know what's happening. But it's easy to fall into this thought process of, oh my gosh, I'm at this point, right? Everyone's talking about AI. I don't know what it is. I'm nervous about it. I don't trust it, whatever it might be. That actually is still the vast majority of folks. So that's the one thing. Don't fret about it on the one hand. On the other hand, there are so many companies, this isn't out in the study, but just myself as now a vendor, right now I'm on the other side, no longer an attorney. There are so many AI companies popping up. Either they're straight up AI companies or they're forms, translations, case management, but the AI is at their core. And so I think for the majority of folks who are not yet either rejecting or not yet using AI, it's time to start at least, I think, doing some research and playing around with these tools. My recommendation is always set aside a little budget. If some tools don't have, let's say, free trials, set aside a little budget of money and time to play around, because that vast majority of folks who are not using it or barely using it is going to start to shift towards the vast majority using it. So you don't want to fall behind. So summary there is, don't worry that you're not using AI yet. You're not in the minority, but you should start thinking about when you're going to begin looking at AI, because if you continue to reject it over time, the balance will shift towards the majority of firms using it